Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, and today we're going to be talking all about Year 2 for Battlefield 2042. It's been a bit of a roller coaster so far after DICE failed to give us any sort of announcement or confirmation that we were actually going to be getting more than 5 seasons. We were pretty skeptical, and then we got the Season 5 trailer, which confirmed that there would be more content, but it didn't say exactly what. And then finally, of course, they did tell us that that content would come in the form of a Season 6. But beyond that, we don't really know what's happening. However, there were a few things that were said in yesterday's Inside Battlefield podcast episode that did make it sound, at least to me, as though they could be planning at least more than 6 seasons, hopefully a Season 7 and a Season 8 to round out a full second year of Battlefield 2042 content. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we will be going over all of the weekly missions, the new game modes, and the new skins that are in the store. Before we begin though, if you do enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. Last video you guys absolutely smashed through the 46,000 subscriber goal, so this time let's see how long it takes for us to reach 47,000. I really do appreciate the support guys, so thank you all so much for that. Okay, let's just jump in game quickly and take a look at the weekly reset as it is Tuesday today. So heading over to the store as usual, we have a new bundle there, the Insurrection bundle, and within that bundle we have the Enfilade AK-24 weapon skin. Then we have the Loyalist skin for Angel. I think we've seen this one data mined by Applebox before, aka Deadzigs, whatever you want to call him. So shout out to him, he was right on the money with this one. Then we have the Golden Phoenix skin here for the Apache War Chief, the Insurrection skin for Boris, and last but not least we've got the Agitator player card tag. Moving on to missions then, for Tier 1 here we've got 3 enemies killed, 15 enemies spotted and spot assists, and then 150 damage inflicted with grenades. For Tier 2 you've got 10 enemies disrupted with EMP or concussion effects, 15 enemies killed in Conquest, and for this one defensive kills actually double the mission progression. So defensive kills are when you are defending an objective and you kill somebody on that objective, and then you've got 3 headshot kills. For Tier 3 you have 1000 damage inflicted to vehicles with C5 or anti-tank grenades, 40 enemies killed, again kills on disrupted enemies here, double mission progression, and then 25 objective ribbons earned, and then finally for the bonus you have 2 rounds played. So I definitely feel like the weekly missions, at least in Season 5 so far, seem to be, somewhat more generic and a little bit easier to achieve than some of the weekly missions I've seen in past seasons. Personally, I'm all for that. I like that ease. I like to be able to play whatever I want to play and not have to sort of go to a specific specialist or weapon or whatever in order to finish these missions. For game modes this week, it's pretty standard. You've got Conquest 64 and 128. You've got Breakthrough, which is 32v32. And then in Portal, we've got 2042 Infantry Conquest and Battlefield 3 Gunmaster. And then later on this week, we will be getting Reclaimed Conquest Chaos for Friday Night Battlefield, and then another game mode called Tipping Point, which will go live on the 30th of June. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a full-on Year 2 of Battlefield 2042. So by that I mean a Season 7 and a Season 8. It is time to put on the tinfoil hat for this one. I'm going to be absolutely transparent here and say that nothing I'm going to tell you guys is absolute fact. This is pure speculation on my part, but I think there could be something to this. So if we look at what DICE are doing with the game right now in Season 5, they're overhauling the vehicles, they're changing all of the loadouts, they're changing the way that jets play and the physics behind them to some degree. They're changing a lot of the cameras, like with the sprinting cameras. They're making, quite a lot of fundamental improvements to the game that I just can't really see them making if, once they finish putting those improvements into the game in Season 5, the only thing we had left was a Season 6, and then that was going to be the end. That just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me to invest all of that time and all of those resources into improving those parts of the game. And the same thing goes with the Vault weapons, right? Bringing all those attachments to the Vault weapons, bringing all the camos. Those things wouldn't really make a lot of sense if you were just planning to bury the game in a little while anyway. Now on this episode of Inside Battlefield, we had the actual narrative team of Battlefield 2042 who are writing the lore and the backstory behind the game and all of the characters. So when they're introducing themselves here, there's a couple of guys, one guy called Michael and another guy called Joe, and Michael basically says that he was the associate narrative design director on the first year of Battlefield 2042, but Joe introduces himself as a narrative writer for the first year of Battlefield 2042, but he is now the narrative lead for everything after that. That's literally what he says. He was very careful not to say for year 2, he was careful not to say, you know, for season 6 or season 7 or whatever. He just said for everything after year 1. So he's being very, you know, careful not to state exactly how much is coming. But I think the fact that he has apparently been promoted from a narrative writer to the narrative lead now means that there is more to come. They go into a lot of the designing and you know, how the game is designed around the narrative and where the narrative writers actually come in. And it seems that they're involved in the process very, very early on. And honestly, this podcast is quite interesting, even if you're not particularly interested in the lore. It's just interesting to see, you know, how this kind of ties into a multiplayer game. It is about an hour long, but you know, if you've got the time, I recommend listening to it. But basically, they talk a lot about them having a story for the game ready, even sometimes before the characters, so you know, the specialists in 2042 are prepared, and then depending on the characters that are written, they try to sort of piece different sections of that story in around those characters, and at sometimes they may have to chop and change the story to make it fit. At this point, they've probably already got a whole story planned out for an entire year 2, and then it depends on how many seasons they actually decide to have with the game, where those different story moments or beats, as they call them, are going to drop. If you have been paying any attention to the lore in Battlefield 2042, the US guy, Wolf, has basically betrayed the Exodus, betrayed the entire crew, and kind of turned, and really it looks like Oz, who was initially supposed to be the bad guy, doesn't really look like as much of a bad guy anymore. And they also talked about writing the entire storyline of Battlefield 2042 based on 3 different acts, and if I had to guess, I would say that we are more than likely in Act 2 at the moment. I could be wrong on that, we may be in Act 3, but in any case, the storyline of Battlefield 2042 has obviously, you know, not come to fruition. It hasn't been wrapped up yet, so unless they're going to just try to shove everything into Season 6, I think we're going to definitely see a Season 7 at least, if not a Season 8 as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any more confirmation than that. Like I told you guys, this is just purely speculation, and I really wish that I had some more interesting news to bring you this week. It has been pretty slow, honestly, for the past few days. Not really much to talk about, and I think that is largely due to the fact that BattleBit has recently released, and I think they are well aware that lots of Battlefield players are hopping onto BattleBit and checking out that game, and, you know, bringing out news about Battlefield 2042 may somewhat fly under the radar. But next week, I think we should be getting some new news, something about patch 5.1 hopefully. But leave me your thoughts down below, guys. What do you think? Do you think we're going to be getting more seasons for Battlefield 2042? It would kind of be a shame, to be honest with you, to only have 5 and 6, because even if we do get 7 and 8, that is only going to carry us to about the end of this year. And I think the earliest time we're looking at the next Battlefield game releasing is at the latter end of 2024. And that is like in the best case scenario. So the best case scenario is that we get Season 7 and a Season 8, and then we're still going to have a pretty long drought of about a year until the next game comes out. And that is assuming that we get a Season 7 and a Season 8, and that is also assuming that we get a next Battlefield game next year. That may not even happen. It might be 2025. As we know, they are still sort of putting the teams together and designing the game. They haven't really gotten stuck into actually manufacturing the game, making the assets and all that sort of stuff. So we could well be looking at 2025 as well, but you know, I really hope not. In any case, guys, if you enjoyed the video here today, leave a like down below, subscribe for more Battlefield content. Special thanks to my members for your additional support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.